welcome back, everyone. Grab your popcorn, because today's story is packed with shocking twists, emotional moments, and secrets that change everything. Let's jump right in. I tell you what, folks, I've been watching General Hospital for more years than I care to admit, and just when I think I've seen it all, the show goes and pulls something like this. Man. The other day, it really hit me finally. GH showed us exactly why Cassius is way more dangerous than that calm face of his Let's On. Just a short little moment, but Lord, it gave me chills. It got me wondering all over again if that fella isn't the real threat hiding behind Sidwell's whole crazy plan. You know how it is with these stories. We get comfortable thinking we know who the bad guys are, but then bam, they flip the script on you. I was sitting there with my coffee, shaking my head, thinking, well, I'll be darned. Joss figured she'd already had enough trouble after getting locked up in that underground cellar at Windermere by Sidwell and his bunch of lunatics. Then old Liesel wakes up right there in the same room with her. Just like that, the number of hostages goes up and the danger feels twice as heavy. Between Joss spilling that she works with the WSB, Liesel realizing her daughter Britt was mixed up in this nightmare, and Sidwell losing his cool after Laura outsmarted him, the whole episode was packed with heart-pounding stuff. But let me tell you, the part that really stuck with me, the one I can't stop turning over in my mind, was that quiet scene with Cassius. It showed a darker side we hadn't seen before, and it made my skin crawl in the best way possible. You see, Cassius had just had a real blow-up with Cullum after finding out important information had been kept from him. Then came that heated argument about Faison. Boy, that one peeled back the layers and revealed something much more unsettling underneath that steady, quiet manner of his. Unlike Sidwell, with all his sneaky schemes, Cassius's calm way of carrying himself actually makes him feel even more threatening. It's the kind of danger that sneaks up on you slow and quiet, and that's what makes it so darn scary. I sat back in my chair and said out loud, this boy right here, he's the one we gotta watch. I kept watching, leaning in closer to the screen with my coffee getting cold in my hand, and that's when the polite mask Cassius had been wearing for so many weeks finally started to slip right off. For the longest time, he played the part so well, the most level-headed guy in every single meeting. You know the type. While Sidwell, that slick Carlo Rota fella, was throwing around threats left and right, and Cullum, Andrew Hawks, was growling and stomping like an old grizzly bear with a sore tooth, Cassius sat there, cool as a cucumber. He looked like the only one trying to keep the whole operation running on schedule, the reasonable voice in the room. But let me tell you something, folks. General Hospital has reminded me time and again over the years that looks can fool you real good, and this time they drove that point home like a hammer. The trouble really boiled over when Cullum discovered that Jocelyn's sweet little Eden McCoy's character was locked up down in that fancy underground prison beneath Windermere. He was not happy, not one bit. You could see the steam coming out of his ears because important information like that had been kept from him. He made sure every single person in that room knew exactly how he felt about it. What started as a simple disagreement between so-called partners didn't stay that way for long. No, sir. It turned into a full-blown power struggle. The kind between two grown men who don't trust each other as far as they can throw one another and can barely stand sharing the same side of the table. I was sitting there thinking, these boys are going to tear each other apart before the real enemy even shows up. And then came that heavy conversation about Faison Andershove's character, the one with the dark legacy that still hangs over everything. Cullum tried to get under Cassius's skin by mocking him, saying his old man would be downright disappointed in how he was handling things. Most people would have lost their temper, raised their voice, or thrown something across the room, but not Cassius. Ryan Pavey played it perfectly. He stayed as calm as still water on a quiet morning, looked Cullum straight in the eye, and simply reminded him that he didn't just inherit the family name from Faison. No, he got a whole lot more than that, something deeper, darker, and a lot more dangerous. The way he delivered those lines, without shouting or making a big dramatic scene, made the hair on the back of my neck stand up. It wasn't the loud threats or the angry yelling that got to me. It was that quiet, steady confidence, like he knew exactly what kind of monster he could become and didn't need to prove it to anybody. I tell you what, that short moment said more than 100 shouting matches ever could. It made me realize Cassius isn't just another hot-headed villain running around causing chaos. He's the kind of danger that sneaks up on you slow and quiet, the type who smiles politely while figuring out exactly how to take you down. Unlike Sidwell, with all his flashy schemes and loud bluster, Cassius's calm, collected way of carrying himself actually makes him feel 10 times more threatening. It's the silence between his words that carries the real weight. You start wondering what else is hiding behind those steady eyes and that reasonable tone of voice. Man, I've been following these characters for decades, through all the weddings, the heartbreaks, the shootouts, and the shocking returns from the dead. But this right here, this feels different. It's got me rethinking everything I thought I knew about who's really pulling the strings in this Sidwell mess. Cassius might just turn out to be the most dangerous player on the board because he doesn't need to show his cards all at once. He's patient, he's smart, and that polite mask he wears so well, it's cracking, and what's underneath looks a whole lot darker than we expected. I sat back in my old recliner after the episode ended, shaking my head with a little grin on my face, and said out loud to no one in particular, "Those writers sure know how to keep an old-timer like me coming back for more." My heart was still beating a little faster just thinking about what Cassius might do next. If you've been watching too, you know exactly what I mean. This storyline is heating up in the best way possible, and I, for one, can't wait to see how it all unfolds. I kept watching, and the more I thought about it, the clearer it became that fella Cassius might just be more dangerous than Sidwell himself. Sidwell is dangerous because you can see his schemes coming from a mile away. You know when he's lying, you know when he's manipulating folks, and you can almost watch him cooking up his next dirty plan. But Cassius, he's a whole different story. He keeps himself so controlled and put together that you almost forget there's something much darker hiding underneath that calm surface. The episode on June 8th gave us a real glimpse of that polished mask starting to crack. For just a moment, the smooth exterior slipped away and something colder showed through. You could feel the arrogance there plain as day, the quiet threat, and that unmistakable sense that Cassius believes he's the smartest man in the room, hands down. It wasn't loud or flashy, but it hit harder because of it. What made that scene work so well was how everything else played out around it. While Sidwell spent most of the episode getting embarrassed and outsmarted by Laura and Sonny, Cassius just sat back quietly and stole the spotlight without even trying. By the time the credits rolled, Joss and Liesel were still prisoners down in that underground cell at Windermere. Sidwell had lost a big chunk of his advantage, and suddenly all eyes were turning toward Cassius. He's the one we really need to worry about now. I tell you what, folks, I loved every single second of it. There's something special about the way General Hospital lets these quiet moments build up until they feel bigger than any big explosion or shouting match. It reminds me of real life sometimes. The people who smile politely and speak softly are often the ones you have to watch closest. All these years of tuning in through the good times and the wild twists, and this storyline has me hooked again like I was back in my younger days. Cassius has me sitting on the edge of my seat wondering what he'll do next, and I bet I'm not the only one. If you've been following along too, you know exactly how exciting this feels. Here's hoping the writers keep it coming, because this old heart is still racing just thinking about it. What a ride.